Hello, I am Brother Francisco Whitaker, and this is All Good in the Brotherhood. For today's video, I'm going to share what a typical day is like in the life of a first-year monk, a novice. Before we get to the content though, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the All Good in the Brotherhood channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss any of our awesome content. So, a novice, what is that? Well, a novice is what we call a man or a woman in their first year of religious life. So any religious community, whether they're Jesuits, Dominicans, Franciscans, Benedictines, all of them call the first year individual who's joining the order community a novice. And it can be different depending on the community or depending on the order, how long the novitiate, or the period of time one is a novice, lasts. For many, it's 1 year, but for some it can be 2, 3, or even up to 9 years, which is really long. But those are all years to make sure that the person is understanding and developing their relationship with God and the community to determine if this is a life they want to live. Well, as a monk, particularly a monk of St. Vincent, our novitiate is a period of 1 year. And that life in the novitiate, the life of the monk in his first year, is actually quite different from what the typical day in the life of the monk would be in vows. Because novice monks are actually not vowed members of the community. And technically, they're not actually members of the community. They live in common with us. They share most of the same habit that we do. Although here, anyways, our tradition is you can tell if a novice is a novice because they don't have the hood. Versus a monk who wears a hood means, at least at St. Vincent, that he has taken vows. Well, what makes that novitiate different? Well, unlike vowed members of the community, whether in simple or solemn vows, novices do not have a formal assignment. Their actual assignment is basically pray and determine if you think this might be a life you decide to live. And there are a lot of stipulation and rules for the novices to facilitate for them an atmosphere and an environment to truly discern this life in a special and prayerful way. So first, what are those rules? So in this full year, novices are cut off from the internet. They're cut off from social media. They're not permitted to watch TV. They can have a radio, but they're really encouraged to stay off of that as much as possible. They can have some music, maybe on a CD, on like a CD player or something. I know this is kind of old, for some people, but they're allowed some of that kind of form of entertainment, but it's supposed to be very, very minimal. They're not to go outside of the community, outside of the property of St. Vincent. They can't go visit people. They don't go out to eat. And visitors coming to them are very, very strict. So for the first several months, no visitors are allowed at all. You can have visits by a family member as at the beginning of November is kind of the first time. Novices enter in July, so their first visit is about 3 or 4 months in. Well, after that visit, you can have another visit sometime around Christmas, and then sometime again around Easter. But otherwise, no visitors either. And here at St. Vincent, we have a college and a seminary, and novices aren't even supposed to visit with those who are even on campus, because their life is supposed to be secluded. Well, that means actually even seclusion from the rest of the community in some sense. So novices live in St. Vincent on the 6th floor, the very top floor, almost the penthouse. They have a separate wing just for them. Their rooms are separate. They have their own lounge that's only permitted for their use, because the community lounges that we all share together, they're not allowed to use because there's internet there, there's a TV there. They are supposed to really form just their own small community as a way to develop what it's like to live in common. Well, what does then a day-to-day typical day look like for a novice? Well, just like the rest of us monks, it begins with morning prayer. Here at St. Vincent, it's at 6:15, followed immediately by Mass. Well, what's special about the novitiate is that novices are responsible for serving Mass every day. So for me, that meant I served, because I was an only novice, every single day of the year. The novices right now, we have 3 of them, so that they rotate. They have 2 servers a day, so they rotate them, so one gets a break. I did not get any such breaks, which gets a little exhausting after a while, but it's also to form that spiritual and liturgical heart of the novice. So that if this is a life they're going to live, they need to know how the monastery, how the community prays together. And by being asked to be part of the service in that liturgy, it invites them to really bring it into themselves. So they are the altar servers at every Mass, and they're also actually responsible for preparing the petitions, the prayers of the faithful. Well, that meant, again, for me, when I was a novice, that I had to prepare petitions every single day of the year. And trust me, that can get exhausting, especially, if you're trying to be nuanced. So you're trying to incorporate something special from the gospel of the day into the petitions, or just so you don't sound like a broken record, always praying for the exact same things over and over and over again. To the point where, and some monks might not have approved of this, but I started incorporating references to things within the petition, such as references to The Lord of the Rings, even references to Star Wars, which, some people, they got a little crazy. But I'm most proud of a petition that referenced the Infinity Stones. If any of you are Marvel fans, Avengers fans, I was a big fan before I became a monk. And Endgame had come out really soon before I joined the monastery. So that was kind of my last hurrah of movies before I became a monk. So the petition I wrote, I'm very proud of, named all 6 Infinity Stones within it. So I said, for those who are sick of mind and soul, that they might be touched by the reality and power of God's love for them, which surpasses time and space. Named all 6. And honestly, not a bad petition, I'm going to say. So anyways, after morning prayer and after serving Mass, the novices then, of course, go to breakfast. And in the mornings, they have novice classes. Now, these classes aren't for grades, but these are rather for formation. So they have classes on the rule of St. Benedict to really understand what it's like to live this monastic experience themselves. They study it actually multiple times in different ways. And they're even asked to lead discussions and to teach the rule back to the novice master as a way of showing how they have incorporated and understood it themselves. Then they have classes on Lectio Divina, how to pray scripture, the customary, so how we at St. Vincent specifically applied the Benedictine way of life in the rule to our community, because they're not all the same. Some monasteries celebrate liturgy one way, we celebrate it one way. Some have meals silently all the time, we don't have that. So how we do it specifically at St. Vincent. Classes on the history of monasticism, the history of St. Vincent, and monastic chant, how to sing. All of these things preparing all of who they are, their mind, their body, their soul, their whole person to really become a monk. So that's in the mornings. And they also have structured Lectio Divina time to practice what they learn, to go over the stages of Lectio, Meditatio, Oratio, Contemplatio, to pray the scriptures, as St. Benedict says the monks should pray the scriptures. They have specific time for that set aside in the morning as well. Then they have midday prayer at 11:30, and then they have their task of the day. So while novices aren't given formal tasks, like I have my formal assignment of working in the vocation office and in campus ministry, novices don't have a formal assignment. They have separate individual day assignments. So that might be maybe cleaning the showers in the bathrooms. That might be cleaning our monastic gym. Might be going out and doing gardening with Father Fred or Father John, who are our gardeners. It might be helping Father Donald with all these filings of monastic chants and songs and all that. It might mean driving certain monks who have doctor's appointments to their appointments, waiting for them and bringing them back. Whatever it is, they receive that assignment at 1 o'clock and they work it until 4. And that's a good portion of the day. And that's to grow inside of them another aspect of service to the community. They serve liturgically, and now they're serving physically. Well, after 4 o'clock, they have some time to freshen up. I usually spent that time to maybe do some lifting or some exercise. And then Vespers at 5, as usual with the monastery, dinner. And they're responsible for cleanup for dinner. So wiping down tables, taking the food dishes back to the kitchen, restocking silverware, napkins, all of that. And after they're done there, many nights of the week, they have novice recreation, or some people call it forced fun time. I generally had a pretty good time with it. But what it is an opportunity for the novices with the novice master and the other monks who are assigned to novice formation to get together and to spend some intentional time growing just as a small community. Because in a sense, the novices should learn how to be a community with just each other before they try to be in community with everyone. They spend a lot of time with the other monks, obviously. But that depth of friendship and fraternity, because they entered all together, is something that really they should have if they stay for the rest of their lives. So it's an opportunity to really grow in deep fraternity with these 4 or 5 other brothers who you might enter with. So they have that from 8 to 9 most nights of the week. Some of those nights, the junior monks, those who are in simple vows, also join them. And then on Wednesday nights, we have community. So everyone has recreation together, and the novices join us for that. So novices have this recreation night on Sundays, Mondays, and Fridays. And they come to community on Wednesday, and then they have it with the juniors on Saturday. And it's not always the same. Sometimes they play games. Sometimes they have a book that they're reading, and they have a discussion about it. Sometimes it's just the novice master sharing with them his own experiences of being a novice and asking them to kind of reflect together on what their time has been up to that point. And they're also responsible to meet with the novice master once every 2 weeks to have like an hour or so conversation about how are they growing in obedience? How is it difficult for them to maybe wrap their head around the stability aspect of monasticism? Are they truly growing in virtue? How has their service to the community grown them, or how maybe has it been a challenge? So really to form the man. And Benedict says that whoever's the novice master should be a man skilled at the art of winning souls, because he, in a special way, is given responsibility of these new men to train them and to offer them everything the monastery has, so in turn they might offer the monastery everything they have. Well, at 9 o'clock when recreation ends, they say Compline, night prayer together, and then go to bed. And really, novices are really encouraged to go right to bed. When I was a monk, as soon as night prayer finished at 9:15, I went straight to bed, because you got to get up at 5, to prepare yourself for prayer. And at least for me, so sleep deprived before becoming a novice, like I needed my sleep. So yeah, that's generally what it looks like for a novice. And if you have, So that's what the day in the life of a novice looks like. So if you enjoyed that and you want to see, what's the day in the life of an everyday monk, you can check out this video where I talk about a typical day in the life of a monk. And if you're curious about what it's like to be in charge of the monastery altogether, you can check out this podcast interview I have with the abbot of this community, Archabbot Martin, who's a pretty cool dude. Thank you for joining me. I'm Brother Francisco. Make sure you subscribe. For a wonderful day. God bless.